We are now recording the April 17th, 2020 Small Business Accounting Advisors. Hello, everyone.
Happy Friday!
Hello.
Happy Friday. How's everyone doing? We hanging in there?
It's beautiful in Boise.
Yeah.
It'll be 65 degrees today.
It's gorgeous out.
We got
Same here.
snowflakes yesterday. No
Yes.
snow all winter. It waited until April 17th and started snowing.
That's crazy.
Well, you know, we're getting a lot of rain out here, which is kind of different for April.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Doesn't that make the flowers go?
It does. It does. It makes LA look a lot prettier.
Yeah.
You know, because, you know, it's raining, it's getting greener, and there's not as much smog because the traffic is way down.
Nice.
Gotta look at the bright side.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's one of the things I was talking about is that there's going to be some interesting data that comes out of this because you've taken out you've removed certain pollution sources.
Right.
So
right.
you'll be able to actually, you know, instead of guessing what the contribution was, you'll be actually probably be able to measure it that
Right.
much better.
Right.
And so it'd be interesting to see some of the studies that come out.
I agree.
Based
I
on-
agree.
I'm an electric car.
I just want to come out of it.
Yeah.
So ready.
That's already, I know. Stir crazy. At least we can't walk on the beach. Well, the governor said we can leave the beaches open, but the islands are like, the
Please stay
mayors
away.
are like, please stay away. And so they're doing things like, all right, if we're not allowed to close the beach, but nobody said I can't close the parking lots. I mean, the local, you know, municipalities are getting very creative.
So are you walking the beach then, Sarah?
Me?
Yeah.
No, because they don't want us out there. They see my tag, and I'm not from the island. They're, you know, I'm talking about Tybee has the ocean beach. I'm on Wilmington Island. But
That's what they're watching around here for too.
looking
License
at
plates.
tags and stuff.
License plates. Yeah, there's a lot of people in Pennsylvania that go down to the Delaware beaches. Many people have vacation homes down at the Delaware beaches, and the PA people that are home with their kids, packing up the kids, going down to Delaware, thinking they're going to hang out down there for a while.
I'm sure it's the same down the shore in New Jersey.
Yeah.
as
Well,
they
there's
call it.
nothing open there either. So you
Yeah,
might
we
as
have,
well just
some
stay home.
relatives working in some really hot hospitals right now.
The other thing is Pennsylvanians are going across the state lines to pick up liquor.
Well, why don't you guys open up your liquor stores?
Well, you know, liquor sales are up.
They have actually turned on they've turned back on the online, but so many people have gone on that they keep crashing it.
Well, and in Minnesota, you can only buy 2 cases of wine per year.
Oh my goodness.
What?
Yeah.
Man, that sounds like somebody be down here in the Bible Belt. Huh. 2 cases a year.
Per business or per individual? Wait, what's this?
It doesn't matter if business or personal. It's limited 2 cases per adult.
Wow. You're not allowed to,
Oh,
if you
my
buy
wife
by
would
the
be in
case,
trouble.
but if
You
you
and your
buy a
husband.
bottle at a time, they don't know.
Well, so I have a screenshot I took because I used to do this wine club thing. And when I was closing my account, I had to order it at my house. I had to order it to my office. I had my mom order some, my husband, just so I could close out my wine club thing.
Well, is that 2 cases brought in from out of state?
No, the limit is supposed to be 2 cases per Minnesotan per year. Of
Mine are from a store.
It's supposed to be for the store too, but if you're buying a whole bunch of wine at the store, they're not going to stop you.
No,
Right.
what if you have a party? I go down and get cases of wine when I have a party.
How does
No
that-
parties in Minnesota?
How do they deal with boxes?
Yeah, box wine. That's
No, we have parties in Minnesota. A lot of them are held by high school kids in the woods.
In the woods.
All righty, well, let's talk about some accounting stuff. We'll stick
Oh,
with the
yeah.
Corona subject. So Shannon, you want to talk to us about payroll? Payroll seems to be a booming business at the moment.
Well, it is, because it's amazing the threat of free money will get people that have no desire to be in compliance for payroll. But if they're like, oh, if I put my people that I've been paying as a 1099 contractor, but they're really employees, if I switch them to employees, then I might get this PPP loan money. So I've been dealing with a lot of that, and just payroll cleanups, because all of a sudden people are realizing that they're not in compliance with their unemployment. Or one person that I talked to recently, half of their payroll was run through a payroll service, and the other half they didn't have the money to pay the taxes on, so they were just writing people net checks out of the. So when their employees are furloughed and go to collect unemployment, their employees are reporting that their wages are wrong.
Tell you what, you screw around with trust taxes like that, they will padlock you in a heartbeat.
Right. Well, yeah, and the states crack down a lot harder than the IRS sometimes too.
Mhm.
Nobody
So-
wants Big Brother until they want the money.
That's right. That's right. Exactly.
It's so funny because I have like this gal that works down at the cooperative that I was at, and I was trying to do her taxes, and she was not putting any effort at all into it. She's, I think, 3 years with no taxes filed, right? And I was like, look, it's pretty easy. If you don't, like, at some point say, because I looked at like all of her numbers, and she's got all these transfers coming in from her mom and everything. I'm like, the IRS is going to impute a lot of income to you and going to hand you a big tax bill. You need to put on your big girl pants and figure out what your actual income is. Crickets for a year. She called me the other day. Hey, I can get free money if I do my taxes. and here's the part that's like so serious that I hope somebody listens to this and like tells somebody. Does she not understand that she's actually going to have to pay the back tax bills for 3 years? So it's great that she's motivated, but the net of it is going to be she's probably out of pocket.
Right. Right.
Yeah, you have to be compliant
Where's
to
my
be.
stimulus check?
Yeah, no kidding. Well, and then all the people posting about stimulus checks and how much they got. That's telling so many people how much money you make and how many kids you have.
Right. Right. Exactly. How much information do you want to put back out
Yeah,
there?
that's a good point.
I saw a meme earlier where this lady was telling her boyfriend, I got my $2,400 stimulus check. Wait, you're married?
That's hysterical.
So
So what's happening, Shannon, with the employers and the laid off workers?
they're having a hard time getting their people to come back with all the free money that they're getting on unemployment. So a lot of states will have a website for their unemployment. You log into it, and and every state is going to have different terminology, but on the Minnesota website, you go to your benefit report, and it'll show every employee that's currently applied for and receiving unemployment, and
Nice.
you can click on there and oh, I had a screenshot. I did a whole thing earlier, but it's basically you can do a report and say that you're disputing this person getting unemployment because you've recalled them.
Ooh.
And
That's
I know
awesome.
in Georgia, every week they have to report.
Right,
Don't
but we don't even get a receipt. We don't even get a copy of what we just did. I mean, it's just like it goes up and it's done. And it was like,
And that's
Done?
great for people to get that extra $600 more than they were getting before. But that means that they're going to say, hey, why should I go back to work and work, 40 hours a week when I can
Alright,
stay
if
home and get $600 more?
if I'm uploading the spreadsheet every single week of my employees, and if they're out on COVID and if they've been paid at all, because some are working just reduced hours, and I just drop them off the list because I go, they didn't come back, they're gone. I wonder if that's how they figure it out. The other thing that's weird is, how do they know who's full-time and who's part-time?
Well, a lot of that is based off of your quarterly unemployment returns.
They can, yeah, but that says that we can add people who've only been in our employ 30 days. So it was like, how do you guys know?
Those returns are going to be due here pretty soon.
Yeah, we're filing the first quarter as fast as we can.
Yeah, but I think most states have a spot where you can dispute your employees being on unemployment. You just, and you can't call anybody now because almost every state that I've heard of has closed their employer hotline and moved all those people to the employee side.
I do know that if the employer does what they're supposed to do and uploads every week, that it's a lot easier for the employee. If the employee goes and files a claim, either jumps the gun before the employer, or the employer hasn't done it or isn't going to do it or whatever, it goes through normal channels. It's like they've got, they got to do it by hand and all kinds of crazy stuff. So they posted something this morning that I didn't finish reading, that they finally fixed the people who have filed themselves, and they've matched with the employer. But if you're an employer, you're insane not to do it, because if you say they're out on COVID, your rate isn't going to go up next year. If they get unemployment and you didn't report them as being out on COVID, you're going to be
whacked,
dinged.
But you know what I'm thinking is, all this money is being thrown into unemployment right now. How many of the states are going to become a federal credit reduction state?
Most of them.
Next year.
You know what? And unless you've had to deal with one of those states, it is hell doing. That's like a huge chunk of money that's due at the end of the year on the 940 return.
Yep.
Right?
And you're not expecting it.
No, it was
one
a
of those
complete
things.
shock.
Like, what happened?
Yeah.
And some of it's broken down by industry in a certain state too, because I had 1 year, I had 2 employers that were federal credit reduction employers, but the rest of mine weren't. And it really threw me through a loop, because it's based on part of it too is based on your experience rating at the state as to what your credit reduction amount is going to be. So, and the strange thing that I found was that one of my employers that got hit with the federal credit reduction had a 0% rate at the state.
Yeah, ours is the lowest. My brother called, he's at the lowest. I'm like, what's going to happen? I'm like, I don't know.
Well, yeah,
that's the
accountants are doing a lot of, I really don't know. So
exactly. That's
have you found that you're becoming like a counselor or like a, I think that's been the hardest thing through this is I really care about all my clients, and every phone call that I get, either I reach out or they call me. It isn't a quick phone call. It's a long phone call, and it's everybody's scared and nobody knows what's going on and you're conjecturing and it's, I'm trained as an accountant, not as a therapist. And the therapist is trained how I can be a good friend and I can listen and I can give a shoulder. The problem is I'm not trained in not absorbing. So the first 3 weeks of this was really, at the end of the first 3 weeks, was really, really hard because I was just soaking up all this fear And so I had to take a couple days and step away and really try to, when I talk to people, try to divorce yourself from that pain, but it's really difficult.
And the other thing is the not knowing and the changes. Every day, you think you know everything and it changes every single day.
And if they're
And
trusting me, what if I give the wrong, I'm trying not to
advice?
give advice. I'm trying to go, as of today, this is the way we understand it.
Well, yeah.
Hi, Linda, you're back. We're
Linda's
not hearing you.
Oh, muted.
Let me see if I can unmute.
There
we
she
go.
is.
Are we recording?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. I just made a doctor's appointment. That's all. I got
okay.
a whole bunch of doctor's appointments made, so that's good. I'll tell you about it when we stop recording.
They're opening our local hospital. Is this good news or what? I don't know if it's good or bad. They're opening it up, some of their common areas and for elective surgeries. That would be a good
That is
sign.
good news. It's good news, and the reason it's good news is a lot of the hospitals have lost a lot of income because they're not doing their elective surgery.
Yeah, but how would
And-
they
And laying
risk it?
people off too. That's like a
Yes.
really big surprise.
I know, and it's
But
like,
the admin people, not the people that are actually the nurses and things, but the people that do the administration.
Well, and you guys, a lot of you are in big city areas. There's a lot of rural hospitals in the Midwest that struggle to stay open in general.
yes,
A lot of them are closing and
yeah,
can't
that's
reopen
not good.
because
Yeah.
so I was watching something the other day, and in Oklahoma, one of the last regional hospitals closed, and now the closest hospital is 100 miles away.
Oh,
Wow.
Yeah, see,
Wow.
that's really
Scary.
rough.
Any
So-
emergency would have to be helicoptered.
Yeah,
Or
so they're
take-
gonna have to try to figure out ways to have the COVID part and then the non-COVID part. Now, I have gone in actually the past 2-3 months for 2 or 3 different tests. And there's no problem at all with that because I'm going to like an outlying hospital. What do they call them?
So
Like a
they've
clinic?
And they take your
separated the,
temperature, and everybody's got, they're taking all kinds of precautions.
Yeah, and it's fine. And then the people doing the X-rays and the MRIs, and now I'm going to get a contrast one. They're doing my carotid arteries to kind of make sure there's still blood going to my brain. So
We want blood to go to your brain, Linda.
we do.
I
Yes,
think there's
thank you
more
very
people who
much.
should have that
Yeah.
I have a client who has a surgeon friend, and his friend was telling him that he only practices about 3 hours a week now because of the COVID.
Yeah. Yeah, it's
Oh, I
really
talked to our
taking its
vet.
toll
We
on
dropped off the
everybody.
vet and of the dog, and said, "Please do her nails while you have her." But we had to cancel her spay, and
Oh.
I said, "I heard it's for the gloves," and she said, "The vets don't want to buy gloves and masks because we need to leave it for the hospitals."
Yeah.
She says, "I have enough gloves for," she says, "like I've got a bladder stone emergency that she has to do."
right.
So if it
right.
can wait, she doesn't want to use her. She don't want to use her material. Speaking of which, she's squirreling. So that's, they actually reached out and said, if you have, please don't buy.
Right.
So very interesting.
So let's
But
let's talk about one last thing before we end our recording. The SBA loans. How are we doing with that? How are we making out? Has anybody had
None of mine went through. Now,
Not-
here's a question. You apply to the bank for the PPP loan. Okay, and then you may get something positive back from them. It's been accepted or whatever, but then they have to put it through the pike to the SBA, and it has to be approved on the SBA side. And then the third one is you actually get money in your bank account.
right.
So I know that David Leary and Blake we're doing things like, how many did you submit? How many were something? And then how many got funded? And some accountants were saying, I did 100. I got, 3 of them approved and 1 got funded, the crazy numbers. But how do you know that it actually made it through the SBA side? Because
Well, that's my problem in a nutshell. I'm like really disappointed in the banks themselves.
yeah, well, I had a client who has a relative that has a relative of a relative of the president, our local president of the SunTrust, and called him. Goes, what's going on? And he said, I don't know, I'll find out. And he called back and he said, don't worry, you're in that first wave. We've set money aside. You're going to be okay. So does that mean
The banks are setting the money aside and then getting
I think that
reimbursed?
was his very simple explanation to the client. I'm thinking that they actually got it through the SBA Pike as part of the overall numbers before it closed, and they just haven't distributed it yet. That's my assumption, because I haven't heard of anybody getting any funds from SunTrust, but they were opening the portal in the order that people applied for the notification email. So I mean, it's been since the beginning of the month. So, did you see the notice that went out from the IDLE that if you applied too early when they had the wrong portal up and it didn't ask you how many employees you have, it just didn't go through? You're out of luck.
Nobody was notified and they're just sitting there not
Notified, nothing. And then it said to look at your, like I did it on March 30th and mine starts with 330. So I was like, oh, maybe that's part of the date. So when they say if it starts with a 2, so now I don't know whether if it's a date, if the number is date.
I think it's a series. I think that it's a series because I've heard the 2s and 3s are
Is 2
funded.
February?
No, I don't think it's February. I think it's just whatever series number
Is
they
it a coincidence maybe?
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
'cause mine are, for mine and my husband's company,
Yeah.
they're both 33017.
And did you do it on Monday the 30th by any chance?
I don't remember. I think I did.
No. See, I pushed mine to OneNote, and that's the only reason I know that I actually did it on the 30th.
See, and I'm almost thinking, well, my husband got laid off on the 20th. I'm thinking I did it on the 24th or 25th. I don't think,
a whole week before me. Wow. And
but
you never got funded?
no, but I don't remember the question being how many.
Oh, I know. See, they just give you a number, not a copy of anything that you did. Well, because we have Stacy, she did hers 3 hours before me, and she got funded yesterday. So I thought, maybe I'll get funded
You have a
today.
good chance,
but
right? But
So-
yeah.
Oh gosh, nothing makes any sense. What is he
the
doing
brain,
other
it's
than
just-
worrying about?
Oh, I do have other things happening, but I deal virtually all the time. So now everybody wants to know, how do you use Zoom?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
a
aren't
couple
there
clients who
some-
got their own Zoom accounts.
I got to actually give my sister a lesson, which was kind of cool.
Well, does
Yeah.
anybody think this is going to be a permanent change for a lot of people?
Yes,
There
we're
are
meeting
some.
with 12 family units every Sunday, and I think we're loving it. So
You're going to keep it up.
We use Teams, and that's working well.
mhm.
Well, I just got
Everybody's
off of
back
a
in
Zoom with the local school district, and they've been putting together this new business academy program that they're doing, and they're finding out that virtual is really fitting in well.
Yeah.
I think that
So,
people get
yeah.
used to doing things, and then once you have a paradigm shift, and then they say, hey, sometimes unless you're forced to do it, then you realize, hey, there's a lot of advantages in doing it this way. I would never have done it just because of inertia.
And they're finding, that there's no need to actually be in person, that the online or virtual is working out just as well.
Well, I was reading an article the other day about how maybe the accounting industry will wake up and this will be the wake up call that you don't have to, be face to face with your staff every day, and you don't have to, to make sure that they're working. Mm-hmm. And the other thing I'm thinking is for audits. I mean, is it really necessary in this day and age for teams to go and camp out at a client's office for, and I think they're going to find out, wow, we were able to get some work done and we didn't have the expenses
of flying and driving and hotel. And how many people just were hanging out till retirement thinking, I'm just not going to do this. I have some friends that have accounting firms that, nothing's in the cloud, but boy, they're suffering now.
Yeah, it really has hit a lot of people hard.
I looked at my client list and I figured about 25% of my clients I've never met in person.
Oh, really? Yeah.
That's great.
The other 75%, I've got them trained not to. I meet with maybe 5 or 6 people face to face, like in February, and those people are actually older than me. So
I had a man continuing to meet with them when we can.
I had a man walk in our office one day, and he goes, big booming voice. He said, I want to meet Sarah Laidlaw. So I heard him down the hallway, and I came out, and he goes, I just wanted to see your face before I, apparently he had found me on the internet years ago. He sent me all his information, his sales tax return. And I've done it for years, and he said, I sold my business. I wanted to stop by and say thank you. And I'm just like, that was so cool.
Oh, that's neat.
But that's before Zoom and all that. I mean, it was pretty rare to not see your client at all. Well, we picked up and delivered a lot back then, you know?
Yeah.
But he wanted his mailed, so I had never met him. So that was fun. That was fun. Yeah, whole new world, y'all.
Exactly.
Exactly. I guess you could coin the phrase, we're starting to enter into the new normal, right?
New normal. What'd you say, Shannon?
What?
What'd you say?
I think we're entering into the new normal.
It's the new normal's right.
This is the new normal.
Yeah, but we were calling her Shannon.
There's a lot of online schools, and now and parents are always like, but I can't because this, or I can't because that. And I think a lot of parents are like, wait, I can totally do this. Because if you do, my business was still fairly young when I was homeschooling my daughter. But I cheated. I used an online university or online program. So all you just went through and you did the coursework and the homework and submitted it. Teacher graded it. The Phi-Ed class was a little bit interesting because you had to actually record yourself doing some of these things, and that was your homework. And you had to do these fitness logs, which is exactly what people are doing right now.
Yeah.
And
what do you do if you have a lot of kids?
I'm hearing that people are finding out their kids are really, really excelling in it. That, a lot of times in classrooms, they teach to the lowest common denominator. So the students that are smarter are really held back by that.
Yeah, you're
right. The smarter ones are now advancing, but what they're not getting is the social.
Social, yeah. But then you're expected to have all these computers at home, a computer for every kid. And then the bandwidth. I'm worried about the bandwidth because even one of my employees, we can't even do our team if her daughter is doing her college classes.
So if you're not
that's right.
Infrastructure.
Well, that's true. If they give a break on infrastructure, you should be able to afford a computer. Yeah.
Well, there's a lot of kids around here now getting computers,
Mhm.
compute laptops and Chromebooks,
Yeah.
so that they can do their homework or their
And then
schooling.
you have the other side of the kids who
But-
go to
But
school
I
because they
worry
need to
about
eat.
these kids bringing these Chromebooks home and the kids then having access to it. You know what I
There's
mean?
one
You
district
think their
here that's
parents are
actually
going to
giving
take
out
over?
hotspots and laptops.
Wow.
Yeah.
Nice.
But no, and I think what a lot of parents are realizing is that their kids, they're gone, they're at school for 6 or 7 hours a day, but the actual learning only takes 2 or 3 hours.
Yep. That's
Right.
about right. If you've homeschooled like you have, that I've had friends say that they said there's so much wasted time and fluff during the day that if you follow the curriculum and give them the attention, you're done. Should be
Right.
done like noon, or
And then they're teaching to a test. And when you're homeschooling your kids, you don't have to teach to that test because that's tied to school funding, and homeschooled parents don't have to do that.
Good point. Good point.
All righty, guys,
All
we
righty,
are
y'all.
at our time.
Oh,
So,
I have one more thing. And
Oh, go ahead.
What's that,
anyone
Dwayne?
heard about the fact that some of the students are now asking for a refund on their tuition because they're not in classes anymore? And they're trying to sue the universities for the high tuitions. They want to give some of that money back, and the universities are reluctant to pay it back.
And they're reluctant.
and they should.
Well, that's interesting. Yeah, the airlines don't want to give you cash money back either, but Consumer Reports is working on that right now.
Yeah.
I've just rescheduled. I keep rescheduling my flight, but it was funny because I was flying from Ontario to St. Louis. And when I scheduled instead and changed it to Ontario to Orlando and back again, I saved money and I got 2 refunds.
Nice.
I'm literally signing my contract with Woodard right now, so.
I see. So anyway, well, there's actually a decent chance. I just read a really long article last night, and there's a decent chance that might not even happen in September. We'll see what happens. It's like they're really going to have to piecemeal this together across the whole country, and the different parts of the country going to have to move at different speeds. So
Well, we have a whole new normal to deal with, like Dwayne said.
yeah.
So
I
stay
don't want
safe,
to call
everyone.
it normal, though. I want to get away from normal. I want a whole new abnormal.
Well, I think
I think that's going to come along with the package.
Oh, good. I'm glad to hear that.
but I think most of us are well positioned as far as jobs go or businesses go to survive this. At least we don't
I
have
think
to.
so.
Don't have to meet
Yeah,
people in
yeah,
person. I mean,
I'm losing some business, but I'm also gaining some business too. And I'm
Yep.
gaining more of what I want, so.
Hey,
One more
It's all
question.
good.
Has anyone considered going to a more an advisory role than what you've been doing in the past?
yeah.
In shifting that direction already.
Yeah,
maybe
yeah.
we're all going in
Well,
that direction.
I was on a webinar a couple weeks ago and with the IRS, and they were saying they're projecting a big boom in bankruptcies. And
Oh,
so
yeah.
I think there's an opportunity to be advising bankruptcy attorneys as to,
Yes.
when you have to file, because most attorneys don't know that. And I think someone was telling me a horror story about this one attorney filed one day early on the bankruptcy and found out that if he'd have filed a day later, the debt would have been dischargeable.
Oh,
Oh.
And you say lawsuit.
Yeah, that's important. I have a friend who actually is a bankruptcy attorney, and he's really looking forward to having a lot of extra work. And I really need to start talking to him about planning it out and maybe pulling in some workers to help him so that he can get a cut and talking about things like that, working with a tax attorney.
And also they'll need to file past tax returns too.
True.
Right.
that's true. That's
Yeah.
true.
Yeah.
Right.
All righty, guys. We'll see
Well,
you
it should be
same
a
time,
good time to do that.
same place next week.
Yes,
Be
yes.
safe, everybody. Have a good weekend.
Yeah, happy
Bye.
Friday.
Are you
Bye.